On November 14, 2004, 100 miles or so off the California coast of San Diego, one of the biggest aircraft carriers in the US Navy, the USS Nimitz, is getting ready to head to the Persian Gulf. However, something strange is spotted by the radar crew. According to the military report from that day, they saw, quote, multiple objects descending from around 60,000 feet.
We saw this little white tic-tac looking object, and it's just kind of moving above the whitewater.
Down to 50 feet in a matter of seconds. A reminder that commercial aircraft generally fly at 36,000 feet. The report continues by stating that these objects have advanced acceleration capabilities and, quote, hover for a short time and depart at super high velocities with, quote, advanced acceleration capabilities. Are we alone? Or do we have some company? And how does this affect us? Join us as we explore why UFOs are suddenly everywhere. At first, the report continues by stating that these objects have advanced acceleration capabilities and, quote, hover for a short time and depart at super high velocities with, quote, advanced acceleration capabilities. These radar technicians initially believed that something was wrong with their new radar system. So, they recalibrated it, but the signal persisted. Something odd was going on here, so they dispatched two FA-18s to investigate. The day was described as having clear skies, no clouds, and infinite visibility in the report from that day. These two Navy pilots arrive on the scene, each carrying a weapons officer. As they scan their surroundings, they spot an odd object in the water below. It looks as if some massive, cross-shaped object the size of a massive airplane is submerged right underneath the surface of the water, and above it, it appears to be boiling. And just above the boiling water, an object is hovering. This object was, quote, an elongated egg or a tic-tac that was uniformly white across the entire body. According to the Navy report, it measured about 46 feet in length, and one of the pilots wanted a better look, so he then lowered the jet in the direction of the target. The other pilot is staying back to get a wider view. All of a sudden, as these two pilots have this object locked into their radar, it swiftly takes off, and these two pilots lose this strange object. As the two are heading back to their aircraft carrier, they get a radio call from one of their radar technicians saying it reappeared. So they gear up and get ready to send another jet out to investigate. And this time, they make sure that an infrared camera is strapped to the bottom. With the camera recording, they found the tic-tac-like object again. Now that we're looking at actual data and observable evidence that we can analyze, we can stop relying on other people's memories. An object that is somehow flying through the sky is what you're seeing. These infrared cameras typically display a heat signature of exhaust or another type of energy that demonstrates how an aircraft is being propelled. Yet, none of that is showing up. But then, all of a sudden, this object disappears in an instant. This occurred in 2004, but nobody was aware of it until it was leaked in 2007 on a fringe UFO website called Above Top Secret. It appeared to be some sort of BS UFO conspiracy theory that was completely ignored. However, the Pentagon confirmed that it was actually completely legitimate 10 years later. This is an actual Navy video of an unidentified flying object taken by some of the world's best pilots. The New York Times would go on to report on this pretty deeply and reveal that this video, as well as the first-hand accounts by people who saw this object, would lead the Pentagon to create a secret program to study what's happening here. And not just this encounter, but a great many others as well. Something that wasn't widely known until recently. The 2004 Tic Tac incident marked the beginning of a new era in UFO research in many ways. The Democratic senator from Nevada, Harry Reid, had been advocating for the program personally. There were other videos, according to The Times reporting. On the American East Coast in 2014, a Navy jet was pursuing a group of unusual objects.
Videos recorded by U.S. Navy personnel have added a new layer of evidence to the current national debate about UFOs.
The following year, a Navy pilot in the same region photographed a small round object moving over the water at what appears to be in very high speeds. When they shot this video in 2019 while aboard this destroyer, some Navy sailors were wearing night vision goggles. A weapons officer in the back of a fighter jet snapped these images of a metallic blimp, a sphere, and an acorn on March 4, 2019. The United States government has verified that the videos and pictures in question were taken by Navy pilots who were on duty. And these are just a few of the many sightings the Navy is looking into. Many of them remain classified due to national security concerns. The Department of Defense finally put together an official unidentified aerial phenomenon task force as more and more of these UFOs were being reported and discussed in the media. Because of concerns over national security, the government declares that it is interested in this. The reports that this new committee has been releasing explain their actions in great detail. The Pentagon is concerned that, to quote, "these objects pose a hazard to safety of flight and could pose a broader danger if some instances represent sophisticated collection against United States military activities by foreign governments, or critically demonstrate a breakthrough aerospace technology by a potential adversary." In other words, we have no idea what these things are, which scares us. To prevent things from colliding with one another, we have a very strict system in place for regulating who is allowed to fly in our airspace. Otherwise, the lives of the pilots operating these $67 million weapons, as well as other people, could be in danger from errant flying. So it's a big deal when something like this occurs. One of the pilots said, quote, "Hey, I almost hit one of these things." And we all understood what he was talking about, even though we didn't necessarily know what it was called, because we were seeing these so frequently. The fact that these pilots claim to have seen these UFOs on a regular basis, day in and day out, week in and week out, seems to be more compelling evidence that we should consider in this case. Additionally, similar to the 2004 Tic Tac case that was discussed earlier, these Navy personnel don't think what they're seeing is real, so they then began to attempt to fly by it so they could observe it. At this point, 80 to 90% of that squadron had likely already spotted one of these on the radar. Everyone knew about it. These pilots have discussed how reporting this kind of information carries a significant stigma, leading many of them to choose to keep quiet instead. However, it was after that close call that these pilots are now in fact required to report safety incidents, and it was at this point that the Pentagon and the lawmakers funding them were pressured to treat these UFOs seriously. Another fact in all of this is that many of the videos have not been officially classified as coming from foreign drones and are still being investigated. Such as the incident from 2004, the one we opened this video on. The Tic Tac sighting was one of those unexplained sightings. The report frequently refers to a lack of high-quality data, and it is true that the data we have here are not the best. But through hundreds of eyewitnesses from these pilots, we aren't that naive to what's really happening. According to multiple Navy reports, this Tic Tac object descended from 60,000 feet to 50 feet in a matter of seconds, hovered motionless for a brief period of time on the radar, then took off at high velocities with rapid turns. With its infrared not picking up any heat signature or any means of propulsion as this thing flies around at mind-boggling speeds, this grainy video still shows us something. Since these pilots' accounts were made public, a few more Navy witnesses have come forward to share their accounts of what they saw. But you can certainly fall down the rabbit hole if you're interested. However, putting that aside, I was unable to uncover any satisfactory reasoning for the 2004 Tic Tac case. The 2004 Tic Tac case is still unsolved, and I have a hunch that it never will be. We'll probably never know what this thing is, and the reason for that is that real questions can only be answered using real tools to collect and examine real data from the real world. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all next time.